Hey everyone, welcome to Judging for the Win. I'm Dave, and this is my daily ruling. Today's question was suggested by a viewer. Thanks to Helix 2 to the 16 minus 1 for this one. Amy controls Leyline of Punishment. Can she use Armistice to draw a card? Alright, so to answer this, let's review a little bit about activated abilities. And activated ability works a lot like a spell. You pay the costs, and then it goes on the stack, and then you get the effects when it resolves. All activated abilities have a colon, which is what separates the costs from the effects. Everything before the colon is part of the costs, everything after is the effects. The other important fact that we'll need is that if you cannot perform the instructions for an effect, you only do as much as possible. Therefore, if Amy activates Armistice while the Leyline of Punishment is out, she will draw a card, but her opponent will not gain any life. The answer would be different if she wanted to alt cast and invigorate. In this case, the gaining 3 life is a cost, and when you're paying costs, you cannot choose to do something that's illegal or impossible. With that said, let's close out with a couple of challenge questions to test your understanding. First up, can you tap Grove of the Burn Willows for red or green mana while there's a Leyline of Punishment out? And the answer is yes. The gaining 1 life is after the colon, meaning that it is part of the effects of the ability. It is true that Grove's ability is a mana ability, and there are some special rules that those follow, but none of them change the answer to this question. Platinum Empyrean makes it so that you cannot gain or lose life, meaning that it works with Grove the exact same way. What about this Carplucent Forest? Well, like Grove, the damage is part of the effects, meaning that it does not matter if this part can't happen or if it doesn't have the normal results. The mana gets added just fine. How about Mana Confluence? Well, in this case, paying the 1 comes before the colon, meaning that it's part of the cost to activate this ability. Since it is not possible to pay this cost, it's not possible to activate the ability. What if Amy plays Tempt with Discovery while she controls Stranglehold? Well, Amy would get to do her search, but her opponents could not legally do so themselves. Notice that even though the bonus searches are part of the spell's effects, it keys the bonus off of the number of opponents who searched a library this way, which in this case would be 0. Finally, let's say Amy has an Angel of Jubilation and she plays Rot-Tide Gargantua. Can she exploit a creature? If so, will her opponents have to sacrifice a creature? So we can see that Angel of Jubilation says players can't sacrifice creatures to cast spells or activate abilities. But that isn't what's happening here. Activating an ability specifically refers to an activated ability, which, like we said earlier, have a colon in them. There's no colon in Rot-Tide Gargantua's ability, meaning that this sacrifice is not part of an activated ability. Therefore, the Angel of Jubilation has no problem with this. Sacrificing a creature when you exploit a creature is also a triggered ability, so this too is unaffected. Okay, what about if you had Angel of Jubilation out and your opponent wanted to target your Dwarven Forge Chanter? Well, Ward is a triggered ability also. It triggers when the spell is cast. Angel of Jubilation does not care if you're paying life into a triggered ability, so this works just fine. Let's have a look at this Terror of the Peaks though. Unlike Ward, this card imposes an additional cost on spells that target it. Angel of Jubilation makes it so you cannot pay life in order to cast spells, meaning that it is not possible for any opponents to target Terror of the Peaks with any spell while the Angel is out. And that's all I have for you today. How did you do? Join me again next time for another daily ruling. Until then, I hope you have a great day.